All right, it is midnight, August 18th. I'm in my big comfy chair. Got my bowl of chips, refreshing beverage, and giant bag gummy worms in case I want to get for the full cinematic sugar experience. And we are about to jump into the big team up event of the Marvel Netflix cinematic universe. Tiny part of New York right there, but it's gonna be awesome. Luke Cage, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and Iron Fist. Let's jump in right now, folks. It's the Defenders. Hey everyone, D here, and yes, very excited. We're about to jump into the Defenders. I had to hit pause there real quick so I could tell you what's going on. Doing something a little different here because Netflix is all about binging and I have work first thing in the morning. We're gonna jump into the first few episodes here. Gonna watch them, gonna stop, do little reviews, tell you what I'm thinking, just get this going out really quick. So when you are done binging tonight, as I am sure you are doing right now, then we can have a little chat about it. You can see what I was thinking, you can give me your feedback, and then after work tomorrow I'll dive back into the rest. It's only 8 episodes, so real quick. So we're gonna do what we can right now. So kick back, relax, so excited. Let's jump right into episode 1. All right, so episode 1, the H word for hero, as seems to be implied between that conversation between Trish and Jessica. Great opening bit of an episode, catching us up where everyone has been. The opening fight sequence I thought was really cool. Honestly, it took me a moment. I had to rewind it once to make sure that that was Danny. The first shots with the hair different and the nice everything trimmed, and he looks a little bit in better shape. Doesn't have the full Iron Fist body, I think, when we see the shot of him in the airplane and sort of nightmare sequence. But the movement's better. It carried through. We'll have to see how the rest of the fight sequences go. But I love the opening montage, the opening fight sequence. The lighting really good, really sets up mood. I love the camera work where it was sort of jumping around, but it had looks like we were part of the person they were fighting. I mean, it was really some interesting camera work, really well done, very moody, very appropriate. But what we're really doing in this first episode is, of course, catching up with everyone. Where has everyone been? We are following up with, we got Jessica Jones, like I mentioned before there. She is dealing with finishing up with Kilgrave, getting some work tossed her way, still not ready to dive into things. Still drinking pretty heavily, and even the work that's being tossed her way, she doesn't seem to be all that interested in taking, even when it literally comes to her doorstep and says, please take my money. Nice seeing Malcolm. He's looking really good, much better in shape. Shaking that heroin habit that Kilgrave sort of kept him going on has done him well, and I love their dynamic that they have. Matt, he is now a lawyer. He has put behind the whole Daredevil guys there, doing a good job as being a lawyer. Love the court sequence. I love the fit how he had that grab when he heard the accent outside when he was rehearsing, that pull of Daredevil is still there, but he's working hard to move past that. It's a lot of moving forward. I think it's really kind of the theme of this whole episode. We have Jessica Jones trying to move forward from Kilgrave. We have Matt trying to move forward from Daredevil and starting his little romance again there with Karen, which was nice. Meanwhile, of the Daredevil group, we have Foggy, who has helped get Luke Cage out of prison. So now he was leaving, coming back, having a much-awaited cup of coffee there with Claire. It was nice, energetic, and he's trying to, as he says specifically, to move forward. He doesn't want to look back. He wants to move forward. And even Misty, when he has that little encounter, is trying to not necessarily push him to being the hero as being the inspiration that his job, his placement as Luke Cage as the hero of Harlem. Stuff has changed. try and not go back in that direction. It's time to move forward in a new direction. And then, of course, Danny, who we opened up with, is still after the hand, still dealing with nightmares of Kunlun and what he believes is the hand wiping out all of the monks. We don't know because, of course, Kunlun was gone when he got back. So, a lot of moving forward things. However, everybody dealing with items that are starting to bring them together. We, of course, Sigourney Weaver's character, who hasn't been officially named yet in this episode, but working with Madame Gao, very important, very impressive. But she's dying. So the big push that they've been trying to do since way back in the first Daredevil is now having to be moved forward. They said it was going to be loud if it was, and it certainly was with that earthquake shaking everything up. So we really had initially everybody working different directions. We have Jessica working the whole, what's his name, John Raymond, Angle, the architect, who probably was doing work for the hand. We have the delivery people that Misty was talking about that Cole seems to have now be working again with, is now doing that underlevel bit. Maybe for Mrs. Gao, maybe for someone else, not quite sure all the players who are playing in this yet. So everybody is coming at this from different directions. Danny from the hand, Jessica from the architect, Luke from the ground level, and of course Matt is the devil of Hell's Kitchen. And as much as he wants to stay away from it, once that earthquake comes, all he can hear is the city now falling apart. Whatever the big move is, it certainly did make that noise, shook everything up. So now we have our heroes in all of their individual places now getting ready to come together. The city is in danger. They're going to help their sections, and through all of this, of course, they will come together and see what actually is going on with the hand and everything else. Oh, and also, I do not want to pass up the note, beautiful uses of color. Everybody's kind of charismatic color plays in. When we're seeing Matt, we have the hints of red in all of the background. Jessica Jones, it's the blue. Luke Cage, it's the yellow. Danny, it's the green. And they do a really good job of making those palette shifts and change, not only just in lighting, but in fog, in background, in accents and colors in the decorations. It really gives it, again, that nice comic panel feel without feeling comic-y. Also with the whole moving on bit, I love the little conversation that Matt had with the wounded kid after winning the case. Is not glad-handing him, but letting him know about the truth of what is in store for him and what is ahead of him. And that whole idea of, nobody's going to give your life back. If you want it, you have to take it back. Now, we did see Elektra in that opening first fight, and of course at the end with Sigourney Weaver when she drops the line, it's just a city, you'll get used to seeing them fall. Now my one question with that is Elektra kind of her replacement in that sense? So was Sigourney Weaver a black sky from way back when, and maybe she's been rebirthed and this has happened so many times that now her system is finally falling apart? So I'm getting the idea that Sigourney Weaver is very, very old, and I don't know, we'll have to wait and see what comes up next. So, here we go. Episode 2. Boom! Alright, Episode 2. Mean Right Hook. Okay, so everything is coming together. Yeah, Matt having a little difficulty here in the opening, as we can see, really letting go of the Devil of Hell's Kitchen in him. A beautiful parkour run across the rooftops. I love this shot, how we're going up the building. You expect to see almost Matt in the Devil's costume, but he's still in his regular suit, which was cool. That's part of the battle inside of him. Great, like I said, great parkour run across the roof. Nice little basic fight scene there. Really seeing how Matt is having difficulty letting guys of that, of not helping when people are caught in a rough situation. Now, one comment there, 4.6 earthquake centered in Hell's Kitchen. Earthquakes aren't usually that localized. That looked a lot bigger than a 4.6. But I guess if set 300 feet below Hell's Kitchen, yeah, that seems normal. We do see with that geologist's call and everything how many powerful forces are working with this, that we can see that call gets squelched from up above, which is starting to worry Trish, which is why she reaches back out to Jessica. And of course, Jessica now dealing with the fallout of finding a whole bunch of explosives inside Jonathan's apartment there. So really overall, like I said, we're bringing things together. By the way, I love how Jessica's door is still broken. Throughout this, they're maintaining a lot of these very cool feels and connections. But all of this is just we're getting everyone back together. We're figuring out Alexandra and Madame Gal's difficulties in whatever it is they're tunneling, looking for, finding. That seems to be what the explosives were for. Something from Kun Lun inscribed with inscriptions. That's protection. And what Alexandra is getting to, saying that the founders, the monks of Kun Lun, always are focused on one thing. My guess that's Danny Rand. The Iron Fist himself is going to be needed in order to unlock that. We also get, again, further hintage of Alexandra, Sigourney Weaver's character's age, with that whole bit between Bach and Brahm about C minor. Obviously, she is telling this story from her own personal experience. But like I said, this episode really just about bringing all of these separate elements together, connecting things up, and of course really starting to get those two big meets. The big one, of course, we have Danny Rand and Luke Cage getting together. Oh man, these guys have such a wonderful comic history. It's I love the kind of references for heroes to hire that Claire is putting to, and that insistence of, yes, being a hero is one thing, but you do have bills to pay. I always feel that that's a little bit of a reference towards heroes for hire. But a nice fight scene, great introduction there as we have Danny and Luke coming at it from two different directions, each going after Cole, looking for answers as to what the man in the Panama hat wants. It was a good fight scene. It was nice. We see kind of a good progression. We see the two different styles going on, which was always kind of a fun thing to see happen on screen. I do have to say they seem to have found a wonderful stunt double for Finn Jones. He has done some training. You can see in some of those shots where we know it's definitely him, but I think that they're subbing him as much as possible in these fights, just from the camera work and stuff and the slightly different movement styles. But that's carrying it. So far it's working well, especially when they're keeping everything dark and moody with their lighting. And he is just doing combat. It's not like he's doing his forms and everything like that, where you can really see him and his movement style. So I think they've done a good job in mixing that up. And then of course we do have the final meetup with Matt and Jessica there in the jail. I love how we're getting Foggy in. I love how Hogarth is using Foggy as kind of that connection. So my guess is that it was Foggy that got Matt and sent over towards Jessica to kind of do that separation between her and Hogarth's firm. So all of these little friendships, all these different connections coming in really nicely. And along with the theme of the coming together bit, we do have Colleen pushing Danny for looking for allies. Again, I think a very apropos set. As this episode deals with people coming together, we have Colleen sort of laying the groundwork there of, these are possible allies. Maybe we can find some allies here. Maybe this is what we're here for. This is what we're going to connect with. So again, laying the groundwork. And again, it's mostly good storytelling here. There's a few little weak points here and there, but not too much. Not anything that's kind of distracting. One particular example with that, of course, is Jessica stealing the explosives. If she was going to do that, why wouldn't she do it when she just found it, shoved it away somewhere, stuck it in her leg, whatever? I mean, maybe they were going to search her, but certainly easier than trying to steal a block of that on her way out, completely surrounded by the FBI. So, like I said, little things like that are just kind of weak, but they're small moments overall for the storytelling. And I love using Jessica's investigative technique too. That was a fun sequence to me, just thinking back and looking back the old card catalog styles and just progressively going back in time, nice having the big dates on the folders. That makes it very clear and very visual how we're going back further and further and further in time to try and figure out what this company actually does. So again, those are all small, nice little bits that really carry the storyline well. They don't take a whole lot of time to do it, but visually really let us really tell the story and really get these ideas across. And since there is so much power going on, the Trish above cutting off her radio show, I'm wondering if that is what's getting Hogarth going, if there is manipulations going on in her firm or around that, and that's what's getting the pressure to separate her from Jessica, which is coincidentally how ends up getting Matt involved, which will cause a lot more problems if that's in fact the case. Overall, I think these first two episodes really representing the rewards for good cohesive storytelling. We get to use a lot of these side characters that have slowly started to make their connections all back and forth between Foggy and Hogarth and Turk and Colleen and everyone else. We get to see how these subtle characters are really allowing each of these worlds to start to come across, so it is natural then when they do intersect, this seems a natural progression of things. They work it both in connecting through secondary stories and secondary characters, and then also all motivated, kind of following up different paths towards the same problem. So really well layered storytelling, like I said. Excellent use of all of our other characters. Really gets me excited to see them. And so let's dive in now to the last episode of this review, episode 3. All right, episode 3, Worst Behavior. All right, we can see the background of how Elektra died and came back. The Black Sky herself. A little bit more reference, of course, for Alexandra's age, her using Constantinople, very ancient term for Istanbul. But really, her discovery of the Black Sky and sort of retraining Elektra as she is rebirthed from that very full pile of goo. That wasn't that blood at the second season of Daredevil. That would be a lot of blood if that was the case. Interesting point there. They do say this would be used the last of our resources. So we're sort of implying here is, in a way, this is the enemy's last shot, or Alexandra's last shot. I mean, yes, she is dying, but she didn't really have that at the time as far as we know. But that this would be the last time they'll be able to come back. So in some ways this does give stakes for the hands side also. The whole training fight sequence, I just want to real quick hit, that was beautiful. A wonderful way of storytelling through combat. How she starts tentative, unsure, they start giving her confidence, then it moves on from one opponent to multiple opponents to changes of weaponry, and then the final sequence when Alexandra says, now it's time, they pull out it's the real ninjas and actual swords, and then it gets dark and boom, lights go on and everyone is dead. Just a beautiful bit of storytelling, really shows her progression, her return to her devastating combat style in just a really nice way. Visually, just exciting. Some great fight sequences there too. They always do so well. I'm so excited with what they've been bringing back here and getting to see these fightings of these styles. But anyway, it was just a wonderful opening sequence, establishing our history, letting us know it's kind of like the last shot that the hand has, as well as just a beautiful progression of going from neophyte until deadly killer with that awesome gift of a new red outfit. Oh, and the pause at the size when choosing weapons. Of course, it is Elektra. The rest of the episode, of course, is really just the kind of getting to know you of all of our separate little pieces before we have the big Midland Circle fight at the end. Of course, we have Stick and Alexandra catching us up, and we have first mention of really Stick connecting to the Iron Fist. Of course, he's been fighting the hand, so it totally makes sense that he would know all about Iron Fist. But those opening scenes that we have, like between Jessica and Matt, I thought was great. They're perfect. We have Matt being Matt and very straightforward, very legalese, and we have Jessica being very brush off-ish. It was real perfect use of different characters interacting there. And I love the little stumbly question there on bringing up the whole powers thing. I thought that was kind of fun. Was there anything kind of different about these people? I thought that was good. And then you had the same thing going on with Danny and Luke. Perfect with Claire there. As soon as Luke is talking about somebody hit him, a glowing fist, little skinny white guy. Perfect, because that is Claire's connection, bringing them together. The following scene between Jessica and Matt, I thought was perfectly well done. Matt's following Jessica. The Jessica comes around and comes right up behind him. Don't know if you guys caught the little Stanley poster up on the street there while Matt was following Jessica there. Always good to have the Stanley reference. But I thought that was a great scene. I don't totally believe, I would have thought that Matt would have thought that Jessica was too close to him to have done the whole, cool parkour thing up the back. I mean, it was great up the stairs there, but it did kind of surprise me. I wouldn't think that Matt would be that unawares of Jessica. I mean, she's good at following, but not being as quiet of what Matt can hear. And then between Luke and Danny, we have the kind of, privilege versus street levels discussion, which is kind of the perfect thing about the blend of these two characters. And Danny learning from it. I like that. We have heard that this is sort of a continuation of his Iron Fist character. So much, Iron Fist, the series gave part of his story. This is kind of the continuation of him to more of the hero status. And we can see that happening here, where he is actually growing. Everyone else is being who they are and moving on with their life. They've had a big arc themselves. For Danny, not quite so much. So now he is starting to listen to Luke and start to look at things from a very different perspective, which of course allows him to decide, hey, let's use my power of privilege and connections as opposed to just fighting people with a fist. Taking Luke's advice to heart. And that's when we get the big conglomeration, which was kind of a perfect summation of everyone coming from different directions. We, of course, have Danny doing the research through his company and all the leases that had happened and all the money that had run through, which was why he was able to trace all of those particular leases that had happened through his company. And that leads to Midland Circle. Then we have Jessica following the architect's connections, and that Midland Circle was the last building that he had built there in Hell's Kitchen, so that gets Jessica down there. Then we have Luke with the lottery ticket that Cole had sent him down to be sure. Did look like he was trying to tell him a story, and yes it was, because inside the box where all of the lottery tickets are, we have the receipt labeled to Midland Circle, which brings Luke down there. And as for Matt, well, Matt, of course, is following Jessica, but this is also the same building that Elektra had one of her big meetings that she had Matt watching her for way back in Daredevil Season 2. So that's why Matt knows about this building, why he was warning Jessica as soon as he came in. And I love the bit that he takes, breaks the camera, very quickly makes his statement right there to her, and two, just grabs the scarf and goes as soon as we hear the gunshot upstairs. So that was a beautiful setup. Now, for the fight, real quick, nicely done. I love Danny being confident in his ability in changing, coming from a different direction. He's already built a case, he has the connections, he's trying to do this other thing, but of course, it's against Alexandra, and I love how she shuts him down, like as he's trying to be all nice and just condescendingly drops him down, before we realize this is a boardroom full of not just business people, but trained warriors. So we get our big end of episode fight. Now, this is not a hallway fight, traditionally like we've had with the Daredevil seasons and kind of what we have come to expect, but it is a big group fight. It does bring everyone together, especially Matt and Jessica, and after Matt's big use of running up the stairs, I love how Jessica arrives just with the elevator right on time. But the fight scene, again, I think really well done. Finn Jones has been doing some studying. They've definitely had time in order to shoot this. I love the music in the background. It was all excellently done. But yeah, Finn's definitely been doing some training. There was definitely work done. Here it showed. He looked good. This didn't look fake. I thought it was nicely done. A good blend of using some stunts in there, but a lot of just him. Not always just the double. A lot of that was him. So that was really good to see. We get to see the different techniques. We get to see the overlays. I love how Luke just kind of comes in there just when it looks like Danny is almost down, and then we have the perfect team up between the two of them before finally meeting in the hallway with Jessica and and Matt. Great little back and forth with Jessica and Luke there. Hi, how you been? Yeah, it's been kind of an interesting time. So it's fun. Big final fight scene. We have, of course, Elektra showing up then in a wonderful looking, reminded me so much of Mortal Kombat. Got Scorpion and Sub-Zero, and she's the one in red. Great fight. I think it looked really good. Really exciting. We get in our connection. We now have all of the characters together, and we are going to be done for the evening. Because now they're heading down the elevator. I think we're going to have the big Chinese restaurant scene. Looks like comes in right after that. But we'll have to wait this until the next episode run. It's super late. I've got to throw this together real quick and get to bed because I'm going to have like 3 hours of sleep before work tomorrow. So hope you guys did enjoy the review. You know, likes, comments. Let me know what you think. What were your favorite parts? What were the things that I've missed? Trying to cover all of this as quickly as I could. Throw those down. Let's begin our conversation, and I'm going to get in for this next set of reviews as soon as possible. So yeah, comments, likes, subscribe, other videos, things like that we're doing. Okay, you guys have a great day. I'm D, and I'm out here to bed. Good night.